All right, today we're going to be talking about Joy Boy, and I got my boys Sai and Par with me. We're going to be going over essentially like what Joy Boy is or who he was, everything we know about him, and then I guess we can speculate about him because most of it, I guess, is speculation considering how little we know about this guy so far. But Joy Boy, I guess, is like essentially the guy that created the One Piece, right? You guys agree with that?
Yep.
I agree. Yeah, I'd say so.
He existed during the Void Century, or before, maybe during. Definitely, like, the Void Century is like the time that this guy comes from. And it's heavily implied that he is the first Sun God Nika Devil Fruit holder. So, in a way, he's kind of like the first Luffy, I guess, since Luffy is essentially like the reincarnation of him, in a way. Not like literally, because Joy Boy probably doesn't look like Luffy, but we'll get into that. Other things that we know about Joy Boy is that he, like we also talked about, had the One Piece come together in some way, whatever the One Piece is on Laugh-Tail Island, whatever he had to do with that, he is the proprietor. He also apparently made a promise to Fishman Island and also had something to do with the construction of the Noah as well, but unfortunately he could not keep that promise. Actually, that's the first time that we hear Joy Boy's name is towards the end of the Fishman Island arc when they read that poneglyph, which is like an apology from Joy Boy. And aside from that, Joy Boy is friends with Zunisha, and I guess he's also friends with the Iron Giant that we have recently met on Egghead Island. The Iron Giant also comes from the Void Century as well and was made by the Ancient Kingdom that went against the world government back in the day, which I'm assuming Joy Boy comes from. So I guess we can start with that. Joy Boy, what do you guys think his ties to the Ancient Kingdom was?
My headcanon is that Joy Boy lived in the Ancient Kingdom, and I feel like there might even be a chance that Joy Boy and Sun God Nika were two separate entities at the time. Because right now, we kind of know Joy Boy to be like a user of the Sun God Nika fruit, but we do know that Sun God Nika is something that people actually believed in the past, and that's why it came into existence. And I feel like that could have been a real person back then. Maybe Joy Boy and Sun God Nika were like a duo team, and there was just a bunch of misunderstandings back then.
Yeah. As far as like choosing one way or the other, can't really say. I'm kind of like, I think originally when chapter 1044 had come out and we started getting the nuance of Nika and Joy Boy and all that stuff, I was always on the board that like Nika was an original entity, just like how there at one point was a dragon that then became put into the devil fruit that Kaido has. And similarly, we're kind of seeing like the endpoints of that with the Gorosei, with like how they're the yokai, but they weren't introduced with the devil fruit names. So it implies that they are the original yokai. And if they were to be turned into devil fruits, they would be like, I don't know, the mythical yokai no mi, Yuki or something like that, right? And Nika is on that same rung where Nika was an original entity that he got put into a devil fruit, and then Joy Boy is the one that awakened it in the Void Century.
But also, another thing that probably comes from Joy Boy, hasn't been confirmed, but it seems very likely, is that the giant straw hat that is in Mary Schwa, we see Emu observe it. It's probably Joy Boy's, I'm assuming, because who else would it be? Considering that Luffy wears the straw hat, which he got from Shanks, who he got from Roger. Don't know why there's multiple straw hats, but we can assume that the large one comes from Joy Boy, meaning that he probably isn't like a normal human. I've speculated many times that I'm sure many others too, that he is either a giant or a buccaneer. The buccaneer race that we see Kuma come from. It's 50-50 at this point because it seems like the next arc for sure is going to be Elbaf, especially now that Doria Braki have come to get Luffy, since they've seen that his fruit is awakened. And they kind of like worship Nika all of a sudden, even though there was kind of like hints of it in Big Mom's flashback with the winter solstice and all that stuff, and them thinking that she summoned the sun god. But it's possible that, Joy Boy was one of those two races. What do you guys think about that?
As far as the races goes, it's so interesting because it's like he could be anything. And also, there's like Lunarians too. A lot of people had believed that Nika slash Joy Boy had some Lunarian thing because of the fiery hair. I remember like way back when it was like maybe there's some kind of connection between the two. Oh, also smile fruits. Like Wano had a bunch of weird connections to Nika as well. But now that we have the Buccaneer race and then they're literally worshipping him and they pass down his stories, it's almost like it would make sense that he would be Buccaneer. And I think specifically, if there's one thing that we could wait for that would probably push us one way or the other, it's what Vegapunk is like blueballing us about, which, you know, he's just like, the Buccaneer race, they have that special ... and then he leaves us. Like, he did that like 4 different times with this recent dialogue, and based on that, I think that will tell us like, okay, is this Joy Boy related, or is this like the D Clan related, or is this all connected? And I feel like the easiest answer is probably, yeah, like the D is with Joy Boy, and then the Buccaneer is probably also related. I feel like I'm leaning more towards the Buccaneer, just the way that Oda's been placing the Buccaneer race within Egghead. But then you have to ask yourself, like, how are the Buccaneers so big? Like, maybe they're just hybrid giant people, right? But then you get weird instances, like, technically Big Mom could have shown us, but she has no giants hybrid kids despite being like basically a giant. So, you know, it's really interesting, but you'd have to ask yourself, like, why would Oda not want to show us that? But we also have, I think there's a hybrid giant fishman, so maybe like that would be kind of important to look at if Buccaneers are hybrid giants. So, and then on top of that, Oda also brings in hybrid races too, and we don't know how much, where the value's placed as far as that goes. But Buccaneer, I don't think would be a bad place to place your bets with Nika.
I feel like from an aesthetic perspective, I really want Joy Boy to be a human, but everything is pointing towards him being a giant or a Buccaneer. I feel like giant makes more sense than Buccaneer right now. But another thing to keep in mind too is that all of Joy Boy's Nakama are ridiculously large. Like Zunisha is a giant island elephant. We have the ancient robot who's bigger than the giants and probably bigger than all of Egghead Island even. I don't even know how he's standing on this island without sinking it. But there's a lot of hints that Joy Boy himself is pretty massive. But I also think there is even a chance that with the giant straw hat that maybe there was another Sun God Nika user a while back who also like either awakened the fruit or just had a giant straw hat. And that could be what is in Emu's little refrigerator room.
And then I guess the last thing we can go into with Joy Boy is his death, which we can assume that he died and not of old age. Because I think that the flashbacks that we've been seeing throughout One Piece, you know, some of them are probably like supposed to parallel to Joy Boy in some way. Like I think Roger, Nolan, Odin, these 3 more so are probably supposed to be somewhat like Joy Boy type figures in a way. And they all ultimately die, you know, in unfortunate circumstances. Roger probably the best because he kind of chose, you know, when to go out despite having that illness. But I think this all leads to Joy Boy probably dying in a similar way. He's very likely to be killed, I guess, sometime after the big battle between the Ancient Kingdom and the world government, because I think that he was probably still doing stuff after they lost. Just thinking. And we'll have another collab whenever we can get Morg on here, because I want to talk about the Void Century War, since our tour was able to make a timeline of that. But he was probably killed in a similar way that like Odin was. So I think that probably is why he had to leave Laugh Tale and the One Piece the way that it was. Because, you know, he ultimately goes on to say that, you know, hey, I couldn't finish what I was doing now, but in 800 years, don't worry, Luffy's going to come around. My reincarnation, he's going to awaken the fruit, and then he'll be able to do it. Which I guess also lines up with the apology to Fishman Island. Which means that maybe he even knew that he was going to die, similar to how Roger did. What do you guys think about that?
So my hot take on the Void Century, though, like something I truly believe is that Joy Boy wasn't 100% a good guy. I feel like there's gonna be a lot of nuance to it, and I feel like there's a lot of nuance to like our current story in One Piece too, where like we have some bad guys, we have some good guys, but everybody has a reason for why they're doing what they do, right? I feel like Joy Boy could be the exact same way, because the way I see the Void Century is like, yo, like 20 kingdoms literally came together and said, hey, we don't like Joy Boy, we don't like the Ancient Kingdom, we're gonna have to take him down. Like 20 kingdoms uniting against you, you must be doing something slightly heinous, or something that is misunderstood. Could be like a Noland and Calgara situation where one culture was like, hey, like we love trees, and then the other culture is like, hey, these trees are poisonous, like it's killing you guys. I feel like there's been a lot of misunderstandings in the Void Century, so I feel like the death is more gonna parallel Nolan and Calgara rather than Odin. As far as like Joy Boy dying, like how he dies, I don't know. I feel like self-sacrifice is pretty plausible because of his apology letters, right? It seems like he already knew that he was gonna lose, so I feel like maybe he surrendered. But I don't know. I'd be pretty upset though if he's like, hey, like don't worry guys, my will live on, and then it takes 900 years for that to happen. If I was waiting for Joy Boy, I'd be pretty upset. Like Zunisha was happy, the ancient robot was remorseful. I'd just be mad.
Yeah.
I'd be seething. I'd be like an impaled down escaped inmate, I'd just be like, damn it. I've been locked up this entire time. I've been waiting for you, Joy Boy.
Yeah.
The death part is hard for Joy Boy. But as far as like Wano goes, I do think that like Odin's story is going to be heavily looked at as like a prototype version of what Oda eventually gives us through Joy Boy, where it comes to like the scabbards, right? The Hiyori Toki being from the Void Century kind of gave us the nuance that she had to go 800 years into the future. Plus in the flashback, it's like it had to be 800 years. So there's some like weird prophecy, right? And it's what we do know is that Odin created a similar prophecy of like in 20 years these guys would come, and he based that off of what he found at Laugh Tale, off of quote the One Piece or whatever Joy Boy left. It's whatever he found out there. He realized, okay, 20 years these guys are gonna come and they're gonna avenge me if I don't succeed. And so that's why he was like more reckless and broke his thing, which he should have done anyways. That's a whole different debate. But you look at the way he sacrificed himself. He talks about the passing on the will, dying with a smile. I think when you're talking about like the scabbards, and if they were not able to rectify the situation, would they be apologizing to Odin, right? And I think they would be. And then you look at Zunisha and you look at the Legendary Iron Giant and you're like, hold on, okay, maybe that apologizing for something similar. Like if you looked at Ashura Doji, who he essentially not gave up, but he became a villain of sorts. And when Kinemon asked him, he was kind of like, nah, I gave up on that, blah blah, this isn't gonna happen, this isn't real. And like he could be a character that would apologize, and you can maybe apply that to Zunisha or Legendary Iron Giant, but they're both very weird characters. And I just want to throw it out there too that like, my god, like if Joy Boy had more of like, if Zunisha and the Iron Giant are just like tip of the iceberg for what kind of friends Joy Boy had.
Yeah, it's the Frankie and Chopper of his group.
That was it for the Joy Boy discussion, guys. Thank you again, Sai, Par,
course,
showing
man.
up, talking to me, shooting the crap.
Sorry if we got a little bit off topic from Joy Boy.
No, it's all
It was
good.
a joy
It's all good.
to hang out with the boys.
Subscribe to them. I'll have their links in the description as always, and I'll see you in the next one.